Hello mathematicians, welcome back to another instructional video with Miss Armgart. Today we are reflecting integers on a coordinate plane. When we were doing the first activity in this unit, I heard a lot of, oh yeah, that's right, I remember doing this in 4th grade, 5th grade. Well, we're coming back to it. So let's review really quickly what are the parts of the coordinate plane. Now you'll notice there are 4 quadrants, quad meaning 4. Each of them has a Roman numeral. That's just so that you don't mix them up because we have the number line X, that's our horizontal, our across, and we have the number line Y, that's our vertical, our up and down. These two number lines give us the 4 quadrants, and where they intersect, where they meet is 0. 0, remember it is always X and then Y. That is known as the origin. The point from where all the numbers start is where they meet, that intersection. So, what are reflections? Let's review. I have helpfully written down where X and Y are negative and positive. So when we reflect over the X, we're going to go from quadrant 1 to 4 or from quadrant 2 to 3 and vice versa. We can go back and forth. You'll notice when you are reflecting over the X, the Y is going to change. So the X is still negative from quadrant 2 to quadrant 3. It's the Y that changes. Same for quadrant 1 and quadrant 4. Y changes from positive to negative and vice versa. So when we reflect over the Y, guess what? The opposite happens. So we're reflecting over the Y. We're going from 1 to 2 or vice versa. We're going from 3 to 4 and vice versa. And oh, look, X is the number that changes. X goes from negative to positive or positive to negative when we reflect over the Y. All right, so now let's do some reflections. We are going to start with 7, 1. Remember, that is always the X first and then the Y. So we go over 7, we go up 1 to this green point. So if we're going to reflect over the X, we are going to go down, which means, remember, our X stays the same, our Y is now the opposite. So this becomes 7, -1 instead of 7, +1. And yes, you should always label your points with the coordinates. So now let's do -2, 3, which is our orange point up here. We're going to reflect over the Y, so we are going to go across like that. So we go from -2 to 2, 3 stays the same. We would see 2, 3, which is the point right here. 2, 3. And lastly, we have 4, -5 down here in quadrant 4. We're going to reflect over both. So you can either, in your head, we're going to reflect over both, which means we go from 4 to -4 and -5 to 5. So we're going to go over the X and over the Y to bring us up here. So -4, 5. We have gone over and then up. So if you're reflecting over both axes, you are going to see that across. You're going to jump from quadrant 2 to 4 or from 1 to 3 because you're going over and up. That new coordinate point goes up top. All right, so we can also do this with shapes. We can reflect the vertices. Vertices just means the point of a triangle. Don't get too scared. We can reflect all of these points over the X if we know the original. So let's start here at 4, 1. We're going to reflect over the X, so that Y changes to 4, -1. So that will go down there as 4, -1. Right, our next point, so that would be 3, -2. We are going to flip the X, so that becomes 3 and +2 up here in quadrant 1. We're going to connect those two. And then our last point, -2, -4, becomes -2, +4. positive 4 up here. So negative 2, positive 4. So all we need to do now is connect our lines, and we have now reflected this triangle over the x. All of the y coordinates are opposite of what they started as. All right, folks, that is the end of our notes. Don't forget about your 3 different vocab words down here. Fill in some examples so that you can remember them. Make sure that these notes go in your notebook. And I am Miss Armgart saying happy solving.